Good morning, students. In today's class of service marketing, we'll start with a new topic, service strategy. But before understanding the service strategy, we should recap what we have read in the previous class, that is service vision. So there has been a little gap due to internal assessment. So we'll just refresh our memory what we have read in the previous class, and then we'll start with a new topic, that is service strategy. So service vision. Whenever a service vision is formed or whenever a service vision is made, it should provide a long-term direction to the company. It should delineate the organizational activities to be pursued. What are the activities that the organization is planning to pursue, and the capabilities of organizational plans has to develop. And what are the plans that the organization has to develop? The vision should state that. It should also infuse the organization with a sense of purposeful action. So this is one of the main attributes of a service vision. It's because it infuses or instills the organization with a purposeful action. So this should give a long-full direction, a long-term direction to the company. It should be based on the what are the capabilities of the organization. It should say what are the plans the organization should develop in order to accomplish those objectives, and what is the how the organization should this service vision should be able to infuse a purposeful action in the minds of the people. Therefore, a strong service vision should be very clear and unique. So this is one of the main attributes, because whenever a service vision is made, if it is not clear, it is ambiguous, or if it is not unique, or it does not differentiate you with the competitors, then it is of no use. So a service vision should be very, very clear. It should be unambiguous. Whatever words is used in uh, preparing the service vision should be very, very clear and crystal clear, and this should be unique, because this should be able to whenever a person or a customer is hearing the service vision of a company, it should be so unique that he will be able to distinguish it from the other competitors in the market, and should give people a sense of purpose. This is also very, very important. A sense of purpose has to be instilled in the minds of the people whenever they listen to the service vision. Value and meaning. Also, a purpose, value, and meaning has to be installed. A strong service vision should be inspiring. That means it should inspire the employees, it inspires the customers, and inspires the suppliers, the stakeholders, all the people in the company who have any stake in the company, service company. They should be having inspired by the service vision. So that is the role that the service vision should do. It should give direction and work to help to differentiate your company from others. So this is very important. So mainly, it should give a long-term direction. It should install a purposeful purpose, sense of purpose, meaning in the minds of the people. It should be very unique and clear, and also it helps to differentiate your company from that of the company. So this is the reason why a service vision is very important. And we have also studied what are the various guidelines for crafting a proper service vision. Like, the first step will be, you should understand what excites your customers. Whenever a service vision has to be made, the leader of the organization or the management, they should try to identify the value dimensions that really matter to the customers, because whenever we keep the customer in focus in a service based company or service company, then we are able to understand what kind of customer satisfaction that is to be provided, what kind of services has to be provided, what should be the various deliverables. So once we keep the customer in the focus, then it will be very, very easier to make a service vision that excites the customer. So this is the first guideline while crafting a proper efficient service vision. Then comes what excite your employees. Service vision should be such that it should excite the employees who are working in the organization, service organization, because if the employees are not excited, they will not work towards the attainment of the service vision. So the use of words and phrases that direct and align and motivate your staff. The words should be such that it should be able to direct the employees. They should align and motivate the staff of the organization, so that they will be able to provide best services to the customers, and should aim at providing uh, customer satisfaction to the customers. So your service mission must be easily understood at all levels. So whatever employees who are there in your organization, but all levels, they should be able to understand this service vision. So this is the second guideline while crafting a service vision. And the final guideline that is to be kept in mind is, who is the service vision for? So why this service vision is made? Who are the various people to which the service vision should speak? It mostly speaks to certain audiences, like the employees, the customers, the suppliers, the shareholders, the community, and the competitors. Because This service vision should excite the employees. Whenever the customers hear about the service vision, they should feel that they should be able to, it should be unique, and they should be able to differentiate your company with the other company. That the supplier should be made a part of the service vision, because whenever the service vision is comes into play, the supplier should understand that what role they have to play in order to make the service vision a success. Then the various shareholders in the company should support this service vision. That is very, very important. It is the community is also important, because whenever the organization is working, it is working inside a community, and the community should support this service vision. And also it is very, very important for the competitors, because it makes the company stand out from the competitors, and also tells the competitors why you are doing business in the particular service division, so the service industry. So this is the way we can guide various guidelines for crafting a very proper service vision. And this is the reason why the service vision is very, very important for the organization. After understanding the service vision, in today's class we'll try to understand what is service strategy, and what are the guidelines for making a proper service strategy. So let us start with today's topic, that is service strategy. A service strategy is an important part of any business plan. So whatever business plan we are going to make, there has to be a particular service strategy. And whenever we are making a business plan for a service organization, the service strategy is very, very important, because it gives direction to the company and helps the organization to understand the how this service vision can be accomplished. As whenever we say that business plan requires any service organization, any business plan of any service organization requires a service strategy. You should also understand that since businesses relies on customer satisfaction, the service organizations, they primarily depend upon the customer satisfaction. Any good business should develop a strategy that not only draws in customers but also keeps them happy, so that they are tempted to try out they are not tempted to try out a competitor. So whenever we are talking about service strategy of a particular service organization, the main intention is to give maximum customer satisfaction to the customers, because the customers are the focus of the service strategy, and the customers only will stay with the company or retain with the company only when they are getting this customer satisfaction from the service organization. And any good business should develop a service strategy in such a way that it not only attracts the customer into the service organization towards the service organization, so that they will be inclined to make more purchases from the service organization, but they also should hinder those customers to leave the company. They should not be tempted by any other competitor. The service strategy should be such that they should be uh, become loyal to the service organization and keep on coming for repeat purchases. Then comes an effective service strategy should focus on how your business handles its customers, as well as properly trains the employees. Because whenever a service strategy has to be implemented, the service strategy should not only focus on how your business uh, handles its customers, how the customers are serviced, but also we have to understand how the employees has to be trained, whether they are properly trained or not. Because if the employees are not properly trained, they do not work towards accomplishment of the service strategy, then the customers also will not be properly handled. So effective service strategy should not only focus on how to handle the customers, but also how to train the employees. Customer input is very a valuable part of any effective service strategy. In a service organization that makes a service strategy, the customers remains always at the focus. So any effective service strategy should have customers input feedback as a valuable part of the customer service strategy. Now coming to the second thing is, by knowing why this is important to know the customer's input or the customer's feedback, or to make the service as per the requirement of the customer, to customize the service as per the requirement of the customer. It is because by knowing how your customers feel about a business, you are able to change the things they do not like. So once we understand, get the customer input, then it will be very easier for the service business or the service organization to understand what are the changes that has to be made in the service delivery process, because we will understand what are the things that the customers do not like, and promote the aspects, the various attributes or the various aspects that make them want to continue buying from you. So not only it will help the organizations, service organizations, to understand what changes has to be made and what things has to be removed that the persons or the customers do not like, but also the various aspects. It also studies the various aspects that should be retained in order to retain the customers buying from you. So that is the reason the customer's input plays a very, very important part and an integral part of this effective service strategy. Then comes a service strategy is more customer centric and is centered on the usage of customers and their relationships. So the service strategy is completely customer centric when it comes to a service organization and is mostly centered on the usage of customers and their relationship. What are the usage the customers make, what are the purchases the customers make, and how the relationship with the customers can be maintained in order to make them loyal towards the company, in order to make them valuable customers, and also to get maximum business out of them. The companies often strive to devise a service strategy in such a way that the gap is minimum. So this gap should be minimum, that the customer should feel whatever they have been promised they are receiving that, and the service strategy aims in reducing this gap, because the wider the gap, the more difficult it will be for the company to sustain in the market. Because if the customers do not feel whatever they are paying, it is they're not getting that much value, then the gap is very, very wide, then it will be very difficult for the company, service company, to sustain in the market, because the because the customers will not be remaining loyal to the company, they will not be retained in the company, and they will be attracted towards competitor or move to the competitor. So we have to understand this gap and to keep the gap at the minimum. The strategies used by the organization vary on the nature of the offering and the business. So the various strategies used by the organization in order to reduce this gap, in order to see that the customer receives the best customer satisfaction, the service strategy depends upon the offering of the business. So the nature of the offering and the business, what kind of services are they offering to the customers, and what kind of service business are we in the industry we are in. So depending upon that only we can devise this. The service strategy should be formed in such a way that it satisfies the customer's expectation or comes close to it. So the main aim of the service strategy is to understand the customer expectation, satisfy this customer expectation, or at least come closer or nearer to this customer expectation. Because whenever the customer expectations are met, then the customer is satisfied. And sometimes the companies also tries the service strategies devised in plan in such a way that the customer expectation has to be exceeded also. So at least if not exceeded, the customer expectation should be met, so that the customer remains satisfied with the service organization. It is very important in a highly competitive business environment that there is a service strategy present in order to address the customer needs and want. It is very, very important, because the service organization, the industry in which it is operating, it has become very, very competitive nowadays. So the service organization, in order to be relevant, in order to provide the best customer satisfaction, they have to understand, they should devise a service strategy, and the service strategy should be able to address the various customer needs and wants. The service strategy should understand the needs and wants of the customers, and should try to provide the maximum customer satisfaction to the customers. Now, the various steps to creating a efficient or effective service strategy. So the various steps are there that we should understand in order to make an efficient service strategy for a service organization. In most of the cases, the service strategy depends on the nature of the business, but here are some of the steps that are generally used and implemented by most of the service organizations. Generally, it depends upon the nature of the business and the offering, but the service strategy, how to create a efficient service strategy. But there are also certain steps that are followed by various service organizations in order to define or to make a carve a efficient service strategy. So there are steps, and all the steps will be understanding one by one. The first step that is very important in understand that or creating a very efficient service strategy is crafting a service vision. So this part we have understood in the previous class. What is a service vision? So basing upon the service vision, then only we can make a service strategy. So that was taught previously, and now we are starting the service strategy. So how to craft a service vision? The primary step is to communicate the vision of the service to the employees associated with the business, because the first thing is that we have to communicate this vision with the service of the service to the employees, because in a service organization, it is the people who will cater to the needs and wants of the customers. So they will deliver the service to the customers. So if these employees are not understanding the service vision properly, the service vision is not properly communicated to these employees associated with the business, then they will not know what are the kind of service quality that is to be delivered to the customers, and then how to reach the customer expectations, how to provide the maximum customer satisfaction. Because if these things are not understood by the employees and the service vision is not properly communicated, there is certain doubts or ambiguousness remains in the service vision, then the employees will not be able to understand the needs and wants of the customer. They will not be able to meet the expectation of the customers, and the service strategy will fail. So it is very, for having a very efficient service strategy, it is very important that we have to communicate the service vision to the various employees associated with the business so that understand the service vision properly. The employees associated with the organization should understand and comprehend the organizational goals. They should be in a position to comprehend and understand the organizational goals and the vision of the organization, and they should be able to write their responsibility to help the company achieve that vision. So they should be able to perform their responsibility, do the whatever requirement is there in order to achieve this vision. So the first step in having an efficient service strategy is to have a proper service vision in place. The service vision should be unique, should be clear, and all the employees at all the levels should be able to understand the service vision, because these are the people who will be coming in contact with the with the customers, and these are the people who will be delivering the service to the customers. So if they do not have a proper and clear idea about the service vision, the service strategy cannot be formed, because these people are the main people, and the first step is to see that this service vision is communicated to the people, so that these the employees will perform the whatever responsibilities are put on them, and they will help the company achieve the vision, service vision. So this is the first step, crafting a proper service vision. Now comes the second step that we need to understand, is contemplating the customer needs. So this is also very, very important. We have to understand what the customer needs, because we are not in a position to understand what are the various customer needs, then it will create problems. So we have to understand what are the various customer needs. More often not, the companies fail and waste their valuable resources in creating the services that the company thought the customers would want, only to know that the offering was not what the customer wanted at all. What happens mostly, the companies, they do not understand what the customers need. They are not able to contemplate or to comprehend or to understand what the customer actually needs. So since the company or service organization, various service organizations do not understand what the customers need, what are the customers wants, then what happens, they are completely fail in delivering the customer expectation or customer satisfaction to the customers, because they waste their valuable resources in creating services that the company thought that the customers want, but the customer do not want that. And this is the reason why the most companies fails. So it is very, very important to understand what are the offering that is required by the customer, because if the customer do not want that service, do not, and the service company makes do not only understands the customer needs and wants, they will not be able to provide the services as per the needs of the customers. And if the services are not customized as per the needs and wants of the customers, the service will not be able to provide customer satisfaction. So it is very, very important. The first step, the second step we have to understand is that we have to contemplate the customer needs. The important part is to know what customer needs and put it in sync with the organization's vision and mission. So we should understand what the customer needs, what are the wants of the customers, and this should be, and we have to put this in sync, in alignment with the organization's mission and vision. Then only we'll be able to make an efficient service strategy. Taking the feedback of customers is the first step in order to know and determine what their expectations are, so that the company can form a strategy around the feedback obtained in order to deliver and meet the expectations of the customers. So it's a very concise way it has mentioned why it is important to understand or contemplate the customer needs, because the customer's feedback is very very important. Because once we understand the customer's feedback, this is the first step, because once we understand this customer feedback, we'll be able to determine what are the needs, wants and expectations of the customers. So once we are able to understand what are the needs, wants and expectations of the customers, then we can form a strategy around this feedback and the customer input, and we will be able to deliver the services as per the needs, wants and expectations of the customers. And if we are able, if the service organization is able to deliver the services as per the needs, want and expectation of the customers, then the customer satisfaction will increase. The customer will be very happy with the service organization, and they will be inclined to make repeat purchases with the company and become loyal towards the service organization. So the service strategy should be formed around this customer feedback or customer input, so that they will be able to meet the expectations of the customer. So this is very very important. And then also it is very important to understand the market needs. The market needs for customer needs can be assessed using a method such as satisfaction surveys, for focus groups and the customer feedback forms. So there are various ways in order to understand this market needs and the customer needs. It is through the satisfaction surveys or focus groups. So for upon particular focus groups, we can make the satisfaction surveys, and then also we can also get customer feedback forms which can be given to the people, so to the customers, so that they keep on filling this feedback form. So once we get these feedback forms, customer feedback forms, we will understand what the customer requires, what is the needs and what of the customers, what should be done in order to meet the customers expectations. So these satisfaction surveys on focus groups and also customer feedback forms are one of the ways in getting into understanding what the customer needs. Development of such feedback forms and questionnaires is very important and should focus on the questions that need to be answered by the customer. So while preparing these questionnaires, while preparing this feedback forms, it is very very important to understand what questions has to be focused and which questions should be able to put in the questionnaires or the feedback form, so that the customer answers them, and through those answers will understand what are the needs, want and expectations of the customer. So this questionnaire or the feedback form should be prepared very very delicately, and proper care should be seen that these whatever questions that needs to be answered by the customers, they give us right information about the customer needs. It is also very important to keep in mind that the needs of the customers keep on changing with time and are likely like a moving target. So it is also very important why it is important to maintain these customer feedback forms, in order to keep a tab on the what is the requirement of the customers, because the requirements of the customers or the needs of the customers keeps on changing with time. So just like a moving target, it keeps on moving. So every time, in order to click it, in order to hit the customer target, the target customers needs, it is very important to have these feedback forms to keep a tab on what are the various customer needs and how the service organization can come together in order to fulfill this customer needs. Since it is constantly keeps changing, since these needs of the customers keeps on evolving, keeps on changing just like a moving target, it is very very important. Since it is this needs of the customers is constantly changing, it is very very important for the companies to form a process which will continuously keep on updating them about the changing needs of the customer, so that the companies can prepare and modify themselves and their offerings accordingly. Since the needs of these customers, as we have discussed, first we have to understand that there is a service vision, then we have to understand the customers, what is the needs, wants and expectation of the customers, then we will be able to deliver this according to the needs, wants and expectation of the customer. But the needs of the customers, understanding and contemplating the needs of the customers is very very difficult, because this keeps on changing, and since it is a moving target, the company should devise the various ways of keeping themselves updated about the changing needs of the customers. Because once we understand what are the needs of the customers and how it keeps on changing over time, then the company will be better equipped, better prepared to answer the needs of the customer and modify themselves or modify the offerings that they are giving to the customers as per the needs of the customers. And so in order to understand this customer needs, we can make this feedback forms or questionnaires that can be given to the customers in order to gauge the needs of the customer. So this is the second point that is very, very important for that is very, very important to understand if we want to make an efficient service strategy. Now coming to the third point, what is important while making an efficient service strategy is to properly do right hiring. We should understand that hiring is very, very important. If we understand the people, right people are chosen for the job, then it is very, very important. So the third thing that is very important that helps in creating an efficient service strategy is right hiring. When it comes to facing the customers, it is not the company who is going to face them, rather it is the employees who are going to face them. So whenever the needs and wants of the customer is there, and whenever a service has to be delivered in a service company or a service organization, the company does not face the customers. It is the employees who are being hired in the company, they face the customers. So these employees, they are very, very critical, they are very, very important, and these people should be properly trained and they should be properly recruited. Right hiring should be done in order to see that they deliver the right services and they meet the expectations of the customers. Because if this service vision is not properly communicated to them, if service strategy is not properly communicated to them, if these are not properly hired and properly trained by the service organization, they will not be able to understand what are the needs and expectations of the customers. They will not be able to satisfy the needs or meet the needs of the customer expectations, and if the customers will finally move away to a competitor. So it is very, very important that it is the not the company but the employees that actually face the customers, so they should be properly hired and trained. Employees are the face of the organization, and organization has to ensure that the face is represented correctly. So since these employees are a face of the organization, they represent the organization to the employees, it should be seen that the face or the proper representation of the company is done. So no employee should behave in such a way that the service vision and the various the service vision, mission and strategy is undermined by the employees. They are the face of the company, and this face has to be properly represented to the customers, because basing upon these employees only, the customers, they make a perception about the service quality that is being given by the company. So it is very, very important to see that these employees are properly trained and they properly represent the company. The employee should have the right skill set which meets the goals of the organization and helps to form a strong network and backbone to provide service to the customers. So whenever we are hiring these employees into the organization, it is very, very important on our part to understand what are the various employees that we are going to hire, whether they are right for the organization, we are having the right skill set required to perform the service or deliver the service to the organization, to the customers, and also they are able to meet the organizational goals, because they are the backbone of the service delivery. And if they do not have the right skill, if they are not properly trained, they will not be able to provide the services to the customer. So it is very, very important to understand that there should be proper hiring of the employees. Then having a right attitude and personality is something which companies cannot develop in the employees, which is why they should take care of these things while with hiring. So what happens whenever you are hiring a service organization is hiring, it is not only important that the people should have the right skill set, the right experience in order to deliver the service to the customers, but they should also have the right attitude and personality, because this is something that the companies cannot develop with the employees. If a person is not service oriented, it does not want to provide the right services to the customer, is not patient enough, then it is very, very difficult. Is not having the right attitude and personality, then it becomes very, very difficult, and the company cannot instill this attitude and personality in the employees. So whenever they are hired, proper care should be taken, that taken by the organization to see that the whatever employees are being hired into the organization, they have the right attitude and personality, and their attitude and personality is alignment with the service vision and strategy. Most of the things can be developed in the employees, but most of the other things has to be built in. There are certain things that can be instilled in the people of the in the employees by giving them proper training, but the right attitude and personality, it cannot be instilled. They should have the right attitude and personality beforehand. It should be built in into the employees. Interacting with customers and providing services is an art more than a science, and not everyone can achieve it. So this is also very important, because everything, this interacting with customers while providing the services, whenever because in service, the service delivery process, the employees come in contact with the customers. So while interacting these customers while providing the service, this is an art, this is not a science. This is something that cannot be achieved, that cannot be trained. Obviously training can be done to enhance this attitude and personality, but not everyone can achieve it. It's not very, very difficult, and not everyone can achieve it. So while hiring the employees, we should see that whenever we are hiring employees, they should have the right attitude, they should have the right personality, they should have the right skill set, right experience, and they should have in interacting with customers and providing services to the customers. So these are the various steps. The remaining steps we will read in the next class. Please go through the video. I will be sending you the notes. Please go through that. If you have any doubts, contact me. No need to panic. And finally, thank you for your attention.